This computer. Okie dokie. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. So glad you can be here. We're going to be talking all about newsletters, of course. I know that newsletters are the bane of existence for a lot of business owners, marketers, people in general. Hello, Maxine. And I understand that what the frustration is. It feels like a lot of work, feels like a lot of effort, a lot of time to put into something that typically is challenging to get results from, right? I totally get it. But that is what we're going to be talking about today, is how to make your newsletter sort of a force multiplier for you. So it doesn't feel like so much work, doesn't feel like a lot of effort, and you actually sort of get the engagement and results that you are looking for. Yes, this is being recorded. You will get the slides, you'll get the presentation, all the things, pretty promise. So let's get into it. By way of an agenda, I want to go over, make sure I hit a few points with everyone here. So we're going to go over first sort of why people struggle with newsletters, like what's the actual issue. Then I'm going to get into sort of ways to construct your newsletter without overthinking or overdoing too much. I'm going to give you a repeatable structure for creating a newsletter, one that is proven, that works time and time again. I'm going to talk about how to actually grow your newsletter. So that's another huge frustration, right? How do I get people to sign up for my newsletter and engage? We're going to go through that. And then how to actually make your newsletter a force multiplier for you. So how do you make one newsletter turn into a bunch of different type of content without having to create content over and over and over and over and over again? We're going to talk about that too as well. In all of my workshops, I have a workbook for you guys. I think that the workbooks to me are really where the value lies, because it is a resource, a tool that you can go back to and use time and time again and refer to and help you as you move along, right? I have an hour with you guys. I can't give you, sit with you and give you all of the things and go through practice and do it, all yourself. So the workbook is a resource for you to sort of go back to, review all the things that we are going to go over today, apply them, practice them. This is not a one and done, even though my goal for you is for you to walk away with specific things that you can do and apply today, tomorrow, to help improve your newsletter or as you build the newsletter, right? Things that are going to help you, but everything is iterative, right? It's a process. You're going to have to, do it again, practice, evolve, iterate, try it again. So it's not a one and done. It's not like you walk away and have a magical, 10,000 subscriber newsletter. This is something you're going to have to kind of go practice, iterate. The workbook is going to help you do that and be a guide and remember the things that we talked about today and hopefully apply them. So if you don't scan this QR code right now, don't worry. As part of the follow-up, as part of getting the slides and recording, you will also get the link to the workbook when I send it out tomorrow, okay? So just wanted to say that the biggest bonus for you, in my opinion, is to have access to this workbook so you can kind of practice this over and over again. All right, so problem with newsletters. There is a common struggle that I see over and over again for the people that I know who have their own and use them continuously, that what I hear is they take so much time. It's so much effort to put into a newsletter, creating the content every week or every month or every quarter, doing all that effort, hitting the send button, and then you don't see any results from it, right? Like it feels like it's just a waste of time. Why am I doing this? And the problem often isn't in the content itself. It's more in the fact that the newsletter doesn't really have a specific job. So the content just feels like it's hanging out there. Okay, so the biggest problem that I see with newsletters is kind of fivefold. Number one, there's no clear goal. Okay, we're just doing it because it feels like something we need to do. But newsletters need a job. It needs something it's specifically doing, aiding, helping, focusing on, right? It needs a role, it needs a goal. The second thing is that what I see from a lot of business owners is that their audience is all over the place for this newsletter. It's just like anyone, come one, come all, anyone is for this newsletter. And that's not really how you build an effective newsletter, because you know what I say, if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. So having the newsletter have a job will help define who this newsletter is specifically for, which then brings us to the next point, which is that the content is tends to be weak. Not bad, it's weak. There's a difference. Okay. Normally the content is really good, it's solid. It's just when it comes to newsletters specifically, people want information that they can use, apply right away. And sometimes in the newsletter, the content seems to be high level. Like it's not theoretical, but it's like it's ideas, it's concepts, it's frameworks, but you don't tell me how to actually apply it, use it, what to do with it, things like that. So there's a disconnect. So the content tends to be weak. It's just not strong enough. It's not niche down enough. It's not specific enough for someone to use, apply on their own without sort of contextual understanding and a lot of like words and stuff like that. The next thing is that there's a weak promotional strategy around it. I don't know how many times I've talked to people and their newsletters just sort of floating out there. And it's, just a content thing that they do. They treat it kind of like social. So I'm going to do my social, I'm going to do my LinkedIn and my Instagram and my Facebook and my newsletter. And it's like, again, it needs a job, which then means it needs a place to go within your lead funnel, right? You have to be specific about where you want it to live and what you want it to do for you so that you can properly align it as part of your kind of lead funnel strategy, right? It's just like having a newsletter and then if you build it, they will come. It doesn't work like that, right? We need to give it a specific role within our funnel. To the last point, it's not properly aligned, right? You maybe have a lead funnel, it may be in there, it's just not properly aligned. It doesn't match. You have people sign up for your newsletter, in your social media content, and then you expect your newsletter to sell for you. It's like, that's a gap, right? We didn't educate enough, we didn't nurture enough, we didn't build trust enough. So the newsletter is not aligned to what it's supposed to do within our lead funnel, right? You're trying to jump steps. So those are the common issues that I see, and those are the things we're all going to address and hopefully fix today. So first things first, we need to, before we jump in and talk about, the creation of the newsletter, we need to make sure our newsletter is set up properly. We need to set our newsletter up for success. So first thing we need to do is figure out what format our newsletter is going to be in, right? People just automatically assume email. It could be, but sometimes there are better formats for our newsletter based on our audience and what we want to accomplish with the newsletter. So I don't mean to decide to say you need to go jump to Beehive or Substack. What I mean to say is like, just think about it for a second and pause and think about maybe there are other places best suited for your newsletter based on what you're already doing and based on where your audience is. So I was just talking to a business owner this week, as a matter of fact, and she was saying she has a Substack, and we were talking about, well, she's like, no newsletter. I know I need to have one, part of my, funnel or whatever. And she thought, oh, it's another thing that I need to do. Oh, I don't want to do another thing. And I was like, but you have a Substack that could be your newsletter. You don't need to create another thing. So that's what I mean. If you are building your business around like LinkedIn per se, maybe that you just need to use LinkedIn newsletters. You don't need to go create a whole other kind of asset. It's just the thing that you're doing that's already in the platform. You already built an audience there. Bringing them over to your LinkedIn newsletter may be the smartest way to go. So don't try to overthink it. Don't necessarily think it's like, oh, I got another thing I got to do. There could be a platform that already exists that can help and aid and support your newsletter where you already have an audience. You don't have to jump to something else. So just food for thought. Think about it. I will say the other kind of good thing about, especially like a Beehive or a Substack, is those have built in sort of monetary or kind of like revenue sort of streams involved in them. People can pledge money to your Substack. They can kind of already sign up for like a membership type or things like that. So you can monetize your newsletter sort of easier on those platforms. Do sort of like affiliate marketing or kind of sell space, partnership marketing, things like that. So if you're interested in doing sort of those sorts of things, you may want to consider using Beehive or Substack. School too as well. Someone just mentioned that. So SKOOL, same kind of concept, right? Again, the point is that depending on what you're trying to do, accomplish, where your audience is, just think about other areas of which you can build your newsletter. People always think, oh, I got to do an email. Now I got to create another email. Not necessarily. The one other thing before I leave off this slide is that I will say the important thing for me too as well that you want to consider is owning your audience, right? We're trying to grow our database to then own our own audience. LinkedIn in particular is the one here where you won't necessarily own that audience. It doesn't have a native way for you to kind of extract the followers, subscribers of your newsletter from LinkedIn. Now there are a bunch of scrape tools and stuff like that that'll kind of maybe do it for you. So it's not impossible, but it's not natively built to the platform. Whereas Substack, and I'm pretty sure Beehive, you can kind of download your subscriber list and sort of take them wherever with you to other platforms and things like that. So PSA, do take note of that. Okay, so newsletters need a job, okay? They need a job. You have to have a goal for your newsletter. One of the biggest things that I see is that either people don't have a particular focus for their newsletter or they expect their newsletter to do all of the things, which is then it's too much weight, it's too much pressure on the newsletter. I want my newsletter to grow my audience and nurture my leads and sell my products and build my authority. It's like, it's too much. Can a newsletter do multiple things? Of course it can, right? But it needs a primary goal. The primary job of my newsletter is to do what? Okay. If it's to grow your audience, right, is to build your own kind of database, your own community, right? Then that's the job. That's going to fit in your funnel a particular way. That's going to have a particular way that you get people to subscribe, right? The content is going to be dictated by that. So it can help grow your particular audience. It can help nurture your leads, right? Again, a newsletter is a great way to keep yourself in front of people. We all know it takes impressions, it takes touches over time. A newsletter can do that very easily, especially if you send it weekly or monthly, right? It's a good way to stay top of mind in front of people, remind people of your value, your services, what it is that you do and sell, the solutions that you have, the problems that you solve for, right? It does all of those things. So nurture is a good goal for a newsletter. It can help sell your products and services. It definitely can do that. But when you do that, you need to remember that it then needs to play further down the funnel than typically a newsletter would. So it could help sell your products and services. It just needs to go further down. So you need to place it when someone's sort of already sort of done a consultation or had an assessment with you, done a low kind of touch offer, an entry offer with you, is in the middle of a conversion. So like a good example would be like someone has done a course or workshop with you. They've done sort of an assessment, and there needs to be kind of one more step until they get to your full-fledged offer, right? Newsletter can fit there where you kind of are pushing those full-fledged offers, the top line kind of high value offers that you have. It can play right there. So it could work. It's just you need to kind of align it to the proper place and not expect people who access your newsletter or subscribe to your newsletter from social media to then jump to selling your products or services, right? Put it in its rightful place. And then a newsletter is a great way to build your authority, especially if you're in a place where you do public speaking or you have a book or something where you need to show off your expertise in some way. A newsletter is a great place to highlight those things. So, all your speaking engagements where you're going to be speaking in the future, book chapters, book previews, things like that. It absolutely works for stuff like that. Again, just needs to properly align to where it fits in your funnel. That's probably going to be more on the post end. So after they sort of buy your products or services, then the place to continue building your authority is with the newsletter sort of after that. So primary goal. What is the primary goal of your newsletter? Where does it fit in your lead funnel? You need to have one. Again, can it do all of these things? Of course it can, but you need to have a focus because that's going to dictate the content. That's going to dictate the audience. That's going to dictate where it fits in your lead funnel. Okay. Second thing, so once we define the goal, we then need to focus the newsletter. This is another big area where I think people struggle with, is that the newsletter doesn't have a focus. It's just sort of your broad category of thing, right? I'm going to talk about marketing. I'm going to talk about fitness. I'm going to talk about leadership development. I'm going to talk about growth strategies. It's just broad topics, right? We need to focus the newsletter because we need to give people a reason to sign up. And talking broadly about a topic is not a reason enough for me to sign up, right? I can get a bunch of information in those topics in a bunch of different places, okay? I need to know specifically what I'm going to be getting from you. So we want to go through a process, and there is an exercise in the workbook that I'm going to walk you through this process. But once we establish the goal, let's just say nurturing our leads, that then tightens up the audience, because my audience isn't everybody, right? In my ICP, it's people who I want to nurture in my ICP, right? So if it's people that I want to nurture in my ICP, then that's going to dictate the type of content that I'm going to be developing for this newsletter, okay? It's going to be specifically around certain ways in which we can develop our ICP. So ICP is our ideal customer profile. Think of it as your target audience. So for me, for example, right? So my goal of my newsletter is to nurture my leads and prospects. Okay, so my ICP is business owners who are early or to mid-stage in their business journey, so 0 to 5 years, and they are doing their own marketing. So they're not quite ready to outsource it yet. They haven't hired an agency. They may have a freelancer here or there helping with them social media, but for the most part, they are doing and are responsible for their own marketing. They need specific tips, strategies in order to help them improve their marketing, take them from one step to another. I now have a focus for my newsletter. I'm not talking about all of marketing. I'm not talking about branding in general. I'm not talking about audience in general, right? I'm talking about how do you build an audience profile in order to develop content? That's a specific topic, specific strategy to take you from one place to another. My newsletter is now focused, okay? I want you to do the same thing. So I give you a small formula here. Again, this is all in the workbook, but think about this sort of formula. My newsletter helps who? What's the audience? By giving them what information so they can achieve what, okay? So career coach example, my newsletter helps job seekers by giving them resume tips, interview examples, and scripts so they can land interviews faster, okay? Now we're focused, okay? We have guardrails on our newsletter, not just sticking in any old content out of anywhere, talking about any old thing, okay? These are specific things. So it has to deliver on the promise, okay? So the content that you develop has to deliver on the so they can. If you develop content for your newsletter and it doesn't deliver on the so they can, you are now misaligned. You're not delivering on the promise that people signed up for your newsletter for, okay? So take our goal, take our audience, dictate the content, then focus it, right? That's going to help our newsletter, all right? So I just went through like a quick kind of example here on the side of just like what this would kind of look like eventually, which is the value prop in the top here. So this like line is every week I work on email redesigns for amazing business owners. Here's one thing that taught me something worth sharing. And then we kind of go through what I learned through going through the design. That's specific, and the audience will know exactly what they're getting, and there's something tangible they can get back, okay? Just an example of focusing down. So just think in your realm, but that's how that can show up. So you want to think about who it's for, what you're going to put in it, what's the information, so they can do what, okay? We're going to then take that so they can do what and develop an angle for our newsletter, okay? So we're not quite done. We're going to take our focus and then think of a theme, story, or angle. The angle is what is the difference between good newsletters and great newsletters, okay? All the newsletters that are super successful out there, I'm talking 10,000, 20,000, 40,000 subscribers, have an angle to them, okay? Think of the angle as the subscribe because of what? So when you have a CTA to your newsletter, think of the angle as the reason why they are subscribing. They're going to subscribe to get what? So daily 5-minute updates on business, weekly news analysis, curated fashion looks, monthly deep dives, practical tips, okay? What is the angle? What are they going to get? Because how you know you have a strong angle is it goes in your subscription line. Subscribe to my newsletter to get 5 daily tips. Subscribe to my newsletter to get free curated looks. Subscribe to my newsletter to get weekly news and analysis. Subscribe to my newsletter to get monthly deep dives. Okay, that's the angle. So that takes your focus and then tightens it up to the output. So your audience knows exactly what they're getting. You know what else that does? Doesn't spin you on a content wheel, right? You're not thinking every day, oh, got to do this newsletter this month. What am I going to talk about? No, I just need 5 daily tips. I just need, 3 practical tips. I need 1 monthly deep dives. That's it. So it also helps you not feel content overload. You don't have to come up with a novel. That's the other thing. Like some newsletters are just so super long. It's just too much for people to consume. It doesn't have to be. The best newsletters, quick, pithy, quick information, right? I can get it real fast. I don't need a deep dive. I don't need a long monologue, right? So on and so forth. Yes, I've seen them work in certain circumstances. Those are kind of outliers, and there's specific reasons why those deep dives work. But for the most part, it's something short, easy to consume, doesn't take me long. I can skim it, or I can sit there and kind of sit it with it at my leisure, but super specific. Okay. So have a goal, needs a job. I'm going to take that job, define the audience, and take the audience. That will dictate the content. Then we're going to develop our focus. We're going to turn our focus into a very specific angle that's going to drive our call to action. All right. That's our setup. Again, the validating part of the angle is that it should tell me exactly why I'm subscribing. It's how we know we have a good angle. Okay. It fits into subscribe to my newsletter to get, subscribe to my newsletter to learn, subscribe to my newsletter to understand. Your angle should fit right in there. Okay. If anything on your website, if anything on your CTAs, if anything on your content says subscribe to my newsletter and that's it, no go. We're not going to do that anymore. Okay. Anytime you're driving people to your newsletter, you're going to tell them exactly what they're going to be getting for subscribing every single time. All right. Okay. We have set the stage. All right. You now have a basis for our newsletter. Now we got to go build the thing. All right. What should it look like when we are going to go create our newsletter? All right. The reason why a lot of newsletters struggle is because it's about you or the business. Okay. It's company updates, it's announcements, it's your promo, it's you. Okay. I want to be harsh, but nobody cares, right? We want to focus the content on them. What are they getting? What would they be able to do? What will they be able to accomplish? What will they be able to become? What will they have access to? That's what we want to build the content around. Can we still promote our business? Sure can. Can we still promote our content, products and services? Absolutely. But the frame is, what are they going to get out of it? How's it going to help them? What are they going to be able to do? So we're not going to say, hey, join my event tomorrow. Sign up for my event to get XYZ, to learn XYZ, to get access to XYZ. Okay. Always been what's in it for them. So I love giving for newsletters the 3 architect structure. Okay. Study newsletters a lot, talk to people about newsletters, successful newsletters. Successful newsletters fall into 3 categories. Okay. First category is called main value. There is one specific value you get from this newsletter every week. You get baking recipes. You get health and wellness tips. You get job listings. It's like you're signing up for this thing. It's the main thing. So it's the core of your newsletter. Okay. That goes with the focus, that goes with the goal, that goes with the outcome that you want people to get. Okay. That should align to that. All right. So it's one main thing. The second type of successful newsletter are the curated newsletters. So you're curating outside sources and you're bringing that into your newsletter. Okay. News from around the web, right, is a copy one, like highlights around this specific topic, 3 hottest fashion trends. Okay. They're curated newsletters, super popular. Final type of successful newsletters is the exclusive content. I cannot get this information readily anywhere else. It's not that it's not available. I just can't easily get it anywhere else. I got to do a lot of work. I got to do a lot of searching. You're doing that work for me. You're giving me that exclusive content, collection of deals, right? Specials, right? Discounts. Those are very successful newsletters. All right. What I want you to do in your newsletter is combine all three. Okay. Combining all three is your force multiplier. It is going to guarantee that there is at least one section in your newsletter that people are going to look for every single time you send it out. Okay. So one main value, one curated section, one exclusive. Let's dive into what that looks like. So how I suggest you structure this is that your main value is kind of always going to be at the top. It's your main header section. Okay. It's why people subscribe to you. It's the delivery on the promise, right? They're signing up for the 5 tips of practical advice or the curated information or whatever it is that you have, right? Subscribe news. That thing goes at the top. All right. So that's your first section. Your second section should be something curated. And by curated, I just mean not sourced by you. It's not something you created. All right. It's something from some outside source. It should support the topic of your newsletter. It shouldn't be something random that has nothing to do with nothing. It still should go along with the theme-focused content type in your newsletter, but it just shouldn't be sourced by you, okay? The third thing is the exclusive value, okay? It is some kind of promotion, insider access, discount. So this is where you could definitely promote your products or services for sure. But maybe instead of the base price, it's a discount, 20% off or something like that, right? It could be some sort of collaboration. So it could be the curated one, where it is access to something a partner or someone you're collaborating with has that they can't readily get. It could also be like, just sort of things that are hard for people to access on their own. Job postings, tools, different maybe gated resources that you have access to that you can share to them, stuff like that, right? This doesn't have to be something that's sort of always just like a discount, right? It's just something that is hard for someone else to get on their own that you have access to. That's really the way you want to think about it. Because if I know there's something I can get from you that I can't really get from somewhere else, I'm always going to be looking for it, right? So it always gives me a reason to sort of get into your newsletter, okay? So main value at the top, something curated that's kind of not sourced by you, and then something exclusive, right? That 3 architect structure is always going to give someone a reason to open your newsletter and pump up engagement, right? So a couple of examples of what these look like, just so you kind of get a sense and get the mind going. These are not hard, fast rules. These are not like, again, this is not something that you have to go copy paste. Just want to kind of get the brain going and kind of give you some examples so you have something to play off of. So this guy is called Chanel Bloom. He has, as you can see, dang near probably at this point 1 million subscribers to his newsletters. But the thing that I like about his is that he makes the main value extremely clear. And he sticks to that every time. So basically, his main value is providing actionable ideas to help you build a high-performing, healthy, wealthy life. Okay. So and he says, again, actionable ideas. So he's just not talking about, saunas and like, just mindfulness and stuff like that. That's high level. I'm giving you actionable things you can do right now. So in his newsletter, he talks about an anti-to-do list. Like an anti-to-do list, how you do. And then he goes into how it helps him. And, he got a lot of clarity and avoided a lot of mistakes. And that's his newsletter. And that's it. That's his newsletter. Okay. Once a week or 4 times a week, that's what he gives you, right? One piece of actionable tips, not a novel, not 20 things, doesn't come up with a bunch of different content. And as you can see, he shared a piece on anti-to-do list. He's then repurposing something he already did and just referencing it a different way. Okay. You don't have to recreate the wheel every single time. So that's a main value example. All right. Curated example, right? Very popular kind of newsletter. This is a Substack. It is called Instead of Doom Scrolling. So the whole idea of Instead of Doom Scrolling is, instead of doom scrolling, here is other content that's curated from across the web. They're going to do the work for you. So instead of a doom scrolling, drift through the indie web. So it's a bunch of like cool indie web stuff to look at, instead of like doom scrolling on, Instagram or whatever, right? Instead of doom scrolling, here's media to consume. Instead of doom scrolling, find meaning online. So all these sort of like cool, kind of high level, kind of, curated artifacts from around the internet, that instead of you doom scrolling and trying to find it on your timeline, we're going to curate it for you. It's all cool. That's, assigned to the audience that we're trying to curate, right? Curation. Another one is this is a mommy blog. It's called Downtime. Part of she does a bunch of other stuff, but part of one of the things that she does is just curate books. Like, here's 3 books I'm reading. Why I think they're cool. That's it, right? You see a lot of that, like book recommendations and stuff like that. That's curation, right? If you have an audience of people who love to read around a specific topic, one of your curated things can be books to read, articles around the web. Easy peasy. This doesn't have to be like something, struggles, or something that takes a ton of effort, especially if you're already doing it, already like it. I know people who like to read and like to consume. Make that part of your newsletter. It's totally fine. Okay, that's curated. And then we have exclusive. So what does exclusive look like? So you have Eater over here. Eater is like a recipe meal type of newsletter. And they have a whole section here where it's like they're talking about Prime Day deals and stuff like that. Okay, aligns with what they're doing, aligns with their audience, just giving you some deals that you probably can't find readily available anywhere else. Come to us and kind of get that. This is a newsletter called the Career Contessa. She kind of helps people with career advice and stuff like that, professional development. So her exclusive, she's doing a good job here of aligning her exclusivity to what it is she sells, stuff like that. So she's giving away free downloads, checklists, scripts, templates, right? But also expert advice, okay? Exclusivity. And then also reminders. Be reminded to join our webinars, our online courses, listen to our podcast, our professional development. It's positioned in a way where those are the things that she sells, but they're like, hey, sign up for the newsletter to get reminded about those things. You can't get them anywhere else, okay? So you're not hard selling, but again, if you get your positioning right and your language right, you can definitely put that into your newsletter in a way where it feels like a natural part of the newsletter and a natural benefit to your audience, okay? So main value, curation, exclusive, those are the 3 main types of websites that are massively successful. Just telling you to take elements of all 3 of those, put them into one newsletter, all right? Gonna bump engagement, I promise you. Second thing I get from everybody is, okay, that's all well and good, Moni, but how do I make my newsletter grow? How do I get people to actually subscribe to it? Fantastic question. We're going to go through that right now. So the biggest thing that I want to impart on you when trying to grow your newsletter subscription is none of it is happenstance, right? A lot of times we just kind of put our newsletter out there, put the sign up for our newsletter at the bottom of our website, and then we expect people to show up. We have to be very deliberate and prescriptive about getting people to sign up for our newsletter. The start of that is figuring out where it fits in our lead funnel. Okay, where does it go? Based on our goal, that should dictate where is the appropriate place for our newsletter. If we want to grow subscription base, and that's what we're trying to do, then it needs to kind of go up the top in awareness, right? So when we are doing awareness style content, we were doing maybe some advertising, some promo, some events, some social media, we need to align that content to the newsletter. So once we do that content, hey, guess what? You want more content like this? Subscribe to the newsletter, okay? If it's in the interest phase in that middle, then maybe it goes after someone does a lead magnet for you or download a specific asset, right? It can go there. So thank you for, downloading my, guide or kind of assessment or whatever. Hey, do you mind, would you, want to sign up for the newsletter too, where you can get more information just like this, access to information tools just like that, okay? If it's more in the consideration stage where it's like examples and proof and kind of, nurture, but also sort of moving people down that kind of sales part of it, then maybe it kind of goes after you have like an actual touch point with them. So I'm thinking more of like a consultation or an audit. You actually speak to them. As part of that, they become then part of your community, of which your newsletter is then part of that community. So it's kind of like automatic sign up. They're already in there. If your newsletter is more to kind of build your authority, then maybe it's a post kind of purchase place where you continue to upsell your products and services, your additional products and services, and then it kind of goes in that place, right? So based on the goal of your newsletter, the job you want it to have, it needs to go somewhere in your funnel specifically, so you know how you're driving people there, and then what's the job of the newsletter as far as the content goes, okay? Now we see we're starting to put the pieces together where it's way more intentional and structured than just like, oh, I have a newsletter, sign up for it, okay? Let's keep going with this. So let's kind of put some actions to this, right? So how do we bring people to the newsletter? Can your newsletter come from different sources? Absolutely, 1,000,000%. There's no hard, fast rule here, right? But if you're not doing this right now, what the homework that I would give you, especially if you follow the workbook, is to like at least pick one place. Let's pick one place, one channel where that is our place where we are going to drive people towards our newsletter. So for example, if you do social media posting, right? Social media posts can align to the content you have in the newsletter, right? And because it's the content you have in the newsletter, guess what you can do at the end of the social media post? Hey, you want more information like this? Sign up for the newsletter, okay? Sign up for the newsletter to get 3 weekly tips, 1 big deep dive, right? 3 daily habits, whatever it is, right? So social media aligns to the content in the newsletter, then that becomes the CTA to drive people to sign up. Consistency is key though. This is not a one-off where you do this random, okay? This is always going to be pulling content out of the newsletter to support the social media to then drive back to the subscriptions. Okay, like I said, lead magnets, okay? Lead magnets are form fills, right? They're downloads. People are giving you their information. Because people are giving you their information for that, that's sort of a natural opt-in, is it not? You can add a field onto that form that says, hey, would you like to subscribe to my newsletter? Yes or no. You can do it on the back end too as well. Would you like on the thank you page, would you like to subscribe to my newsletter? Either way, okay? They're already giving you their information. Just add it in there. Make it one more step, okay? On kind of conversations, right? If you are already sort of doing consultations or audits or trials or demos, things like that, as part of that whole kind of process, you can make the newsletter part of that too as well. Thank you for the consultation. Thank you for taking the demo. Thank you for speaking with me today. As part of having our conversation, you're now a part of my community. Thank you so much. You will now receive weekly newsletter from me. You'll receive 3 tips. You'll receive XYZ. If you'd like to opt out, you can do it anytime. Okay, already comes part of your newsletter. That's how you grow it. Partnerships is also a underrated way to grow your newsletter that is so underutilized. Okay, especially for the curated part and the exclusive part, okay? You can partner with other people and fill those sections with their content. It's a great way to reach out and do an exchange. Hey, I saw you are doing, these designs or whatever. I have a section in my newsletter that highlights designs just like this. Do you mind if I put you in? You'll get a tag and you'll get a little shout out from me on social media too. And then you can do the reverse. Hey, I saw you have a newsletter. I talk about these things. I think they're perfectly aligned with your audience. Do you mind sharing the content? Hey, I'm doing an event tomorrow. Can you highlight it in your newsletter? I'd love for you to share it with other people. That'd be great. So again, exchange value. Okay. Already having those sections, those curated sections and those exclusive value sections in there, have a natural place for partnerships to go. Okay. Use other people's networks. How do you do this? So let's get more specific and show you like examples of what I mean by doing these sort of acquisition methods. So you'll get these slides. I know maybe depending on your screen, it may be hard to see. That's okay. We'll go through them. So on the social posts, Okay. One of the things that you can do, and I know like content creation is such a big frustration for a lot of people, is it feels like you kind of come up with something new every time. Instead of coming up with something new every time, whatever that you're highlighting in your newsletter for that particular week or month or quarter, that becomes your social post. That can become different angles of a social post. It doesn't have to be one and done, right? It just needs to be consistent. So whatever you're pulling from your newsletter, you want to guide it in a way where, hey, if you want more information like this, if you like this, if it was helpful, consider signing up for the newsletter. Key here is consistency. A lot of people do this once, twice, and then they forget about it and it's never done again. Gotta be consistent. That's the way it works. Okay. If people always know that this type of content is in your newsletter, gives them a great advantage of subscribing. Yes. It's like, oh, instead of like waiting for it to show up on my timeline, which is who knows when, I can always just get this in my inbox all the time. I should sign up. Okay. Be consistent with it. The lead magnet example, right? On the thank you page, you have a bunch of underutilized space on a thank you page. It goes so wasted, right? You just say thank you for downloading, visit the website. No, man, that's good space. Okay. Put another call to action there. Hey, you like this? You want more information like this? You can get it for free for me every week, right? Sign up for my newsletter, right? Big call to action right there. Like I said, another thing that I like to do is just have the newsletter sign up on the form. I love that. Okay. They're specifically opting in a process where they're already giving you their information. So I don't have to sign up twice. I'm already doing it. It's just a yes or no. So on the form, just have a drop down. Hey, would you like to be a member of my community? Would you like to sign up for my newsletter? It gets you XYZ, yes or no. They'll tell you right there. Add them to the newsletter subscription. Okay. So social posts, lead magnet, again, allows you to be consistent. So if you do it on the lead magnet, it's always there. Now, what you have to do, instead of driving subscriptions or driving to two call to actions, you just need to drive to the lead magnet, right? Because the newsletter subscription is already a part of that process. I don't have to do two things. I only have to do one. All right. On the follow-up from the consultation, right? I like the follow-up from the consultation because it's more of like, hey, you're already opted in. If you want to opt out, here's the option, right? So, hey, great speaking with you. Has a follow-up. Here's the things that we talked about. Here's a summary of what we talked about. As an additional bonus, you're going to get whatever's in the newsletter, the tips, the advice, the strategies, whatever. You're going to be part of my community. Hey, if you don't want to be, here's an opt-out link. So as part of your process of your consultations, your audits, your demos, your conversations, hey, as speaking with me, you're already part of the community. That automatically grows your subscriptions. Again, then your goal just becomes getting more consultations, right? If you're not trying to also get consultations and do subscriptions, you're not also trying to drive a lead mag and get people to sign up for the newsletter, right? Already part of that. And then the collaborations, right? Don't overskip this step. It's probably the most powerful part of having a newsletter is the opportunity to promote other people's content, because that takes stress off of you. That's a content piece you don't have to create, and provides goodwill and partnership with other people. If you can build a network of 4, 5, 6 people that you kind of do this with and help each other, now we're spreading our content to different audiences. We are now helping ourselves grow so much faster instead of relying on our own kind of networks and our own limited kind of visibility to grow our network. So especially someone like-minded, hey, love what you did, was wondering if I can promote what you're doing in my upcoming newsletter. Hey, be happy to tag you, share what you've done before. If they say yes, then that kind of, quid pro quo, you can go and then ask them to do the same for you. All right. So social media, if you have some sort of kind of lead download thing that you're already kind of floating out there as part of any conversations that you have, and then collaborative outreach. All fantastic ways to grow your audience without having to do double work of driving to that thing plus the newsletter subscription. Just make it part of the process. Okay, so create a newsletter, set up a newsletter, create a newsletter, grow a newsletter. Some additional ways to think about kind of scaling it once you kind of get this process going. Again, let's make content as easy as it possibly can. Once we have a structure and a focus, we just want to narrow the things that we have to do for the newsletter, right? I don't want to have to come up with something every single week. I want to focus it on something. So Common error that you see, a lesson, a strategy, a breakdown, a question, an opinion, a story. Okay. That just always comes the frame. It's just always the frame for how I kind of write the content. I don't want to do 15 of these things all the time. Got to figure it out, right? I'm always kind of focusing on, then you sort of just look for those things, especially if you guys are business owners, you see this stuff all the time, right? There's common errors you see people make all the time. That just becomes the anchor. There's a lesson that there's to be learned. That's it. You're breaking something down step by step, right? You kind of see these things all of the time. Can you mix and match these things? Sure, right? These are more of like, how do you make this faster to produce for you without having to sit down every single week or month or quarter? Like, what am I going to talk about? I know I'm just going to do a breakdown. I know I'm going to do a lesson. I'm going to do kind of like a testimonial story case study. And I know that's what I'm going to do. That means that's all I need to kind of think about and focus on. Follow the format, align the goal, keep it pushing, right? Eventually, once you start getting a routine of this, it takes 30 minutes to an hour max, especially if AI is involved, even shorter than that. So we take a multi-hour process, bring it down to 30 minutes, right? Another powerful lever in your newsletter is opening yourself up to kind of your own personality, your own personal stories. Depending on how your newsletter is structured, you think that this is hard because it's business and I'm talking about these strategies and I'm talking about these sorts of things. It's really not, it's not hard to do. It's just, add a little personal touch. It can be as simple as like something you learned this week, or something you did, or things that you like, or things about your kids, or something like that. Like just a little personal touch adds more connection to it. And again, gives people even more incentive to open it because it's just not innocuous. It's not like benign. It's not like just general information. I'm connecting with you. I'm learning more about you. I know not everyone's comfortable with this, but if you do sort of start to add these things, it becomes even more of a stronger connection to your audience, and then makes your newsletter not just informational, but something that is more of an insight to you, and humans connect with humans, and people connect with people, and so on and so forth, right? It just adds another powerful layer to your newsletter. So just give it consideration. This also can show up in so many different ways. It can be its own section. It can just be a little line or two in the beginning. It can be a little blurb at the end. You can add a little photo. Like there's so many things that can be done here. But it's just a consideration to make your newsletter even more sticky. And the other thing is like deliberately asking for a reply in some sort of way. Like because newsletters are often typically emails, what ends up happening is the call to action ends up being a button. And it doesn't always have to be a button. It can be a reply. Okay, that's totally fine. If anyone subscribed to my newsletter, you guys know like a few weeks ago, right? I had a coupon code for an event, to an American Marketing Association event. I asked for a reply if you wanted to sign up, right? So prompted engagement. People are, people are interested, right? Few people reached out for that, right? Didn't have to go click here to get the code or whatever, right? Just get a reply. So I just want people to think about outside the box a little bit about like how to prompt engagement further. You don't need to be trapped as far as clicking a button. It doesn't have to happen. Reply is fine. All right. So a couple of bonuses. Final thing is content multiplier. The reason why I love newsletters so much is because they can be the center of your content calendar if you play it right, right? Like there's so much stress around content and like creating something new every week and trying to feed the algorithm. Especially if you have something like a weekly newsletter, this works really, really well of making the newsletter the center of the content. And then you are just taking that content and basically reformatting it and repurposing it across other channels. That's it, right? Like it can be a couple of LinkedIn posts in 2 different angles or 2 different formats around the same topic. One is a written post, one is a video post. Both CTAs are subscribed to the newsletter. That's my content for the week. So I took one piece of content and I just repurposed it in 2 or 3 different formats, and that's it. That's all I got to do. I don't have to come up with something new every single week, right? Same thing across sort of all the other platforms. If you are promoting your events, if you're promoting your services, you're promoting your products, right? Those are angles for social media posts. Those are other places. Now you're not only promoting your events in the newsletter, you're promoting it on the social, you're promoting it in different areas, you're doing cross collaborations, right? Still, the newsletter is a simple central location, and it's just repurpose and replay in other places. Okay. So again, this is maybe a little bit 2.0 because it takes a little bit more strategy and depends on how you set up your newsletter. But eventually, if you, like I said, if you kind of play this right, you don't have to create new content every freaking week. It's just the newsletter is the main source, and it's just repurpose, re-angle, new format, and that's it. Okay, so just think about that one too a little bit. Then anything that new that you're doing, if you're going to an event or a social thing or whatever, then those are just added bonus posts on top of what you're already doing. But you're not trying to come up with something new every single week to post plus a newsletter plus everything else you're doing. Okay. All right, so the whole goal of this, like I said, ultimately is to become an ecosystem, a force multiplier of your content, your lead gen, your marketing strategy, which you're already doing. So we want to sort of make the newsletter part of our lead funnel, of which we are leading to the post, the lead magnet, the consultation, and that becomes then the acquisition strategy for the newsletter, or vice versa, right? We're driving people to the newsletter, and that becomes a way for them to sign up for the consult or get the lead magnet or whatever. But we don't want to have to promote 15 different things. I want to promote one thing and let that one thing be a multiplier for everything else, okay? Then we have the 3-part structure, which is the delivery method. It gives me the different sections where I can plug and play in different areas, right? I can scale because I can use outside sources and curated content to supply my newsletter. I can scale that out by turning that into different type of content assets. And then I can distribute it to my group. And then we'll rinse and repeat and grow a big enough kind of newsletter subscriber base to then promote myself and sell my products and services where I don't have to stress so hard every week about trying to acquire new people all the time. Okay, it comes, it's a part of the engine, right? All right, that was it. It was a lot, I know. That's why I created the workbook, so you don't have to like take copious notes, right? The workbook's going to help you kind of work through all of these things. All right, but first things first, newsletters need a goal, they need a purpose, okay? They need structure to them, all right? Got to pick an angle. So picking the goal will lead you to the audience, lead you to the content, lead you to the focus, lead you to the angle, all right? Simple structure, 3 parts: main value, curated section, exclusive section, all right? Does that have to be all of your newsletter? Can you have other parts? Yes, you can. Okay, it's okay. These are the ones that I recommend that you have, though. They are proven methods. These are successful newsletters are focused on one of these 3 areas. If you combine them, you're just going to force multiply your newsletter. Okay. Align it to your funnel. Where does it go? Give it a job and a purpose. Okay. Make sure that it is trying to take your audience somewhere else down your funnel. Okay. And then use it for repurposing. All right. If done right, you shouldn't have to like dry up the content well every week. All right. Shouldn't be that hard. All right. Take some of that pressure off of you and your marketing and your work. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Shameless plug. I do consultations, right? I do 30-minute, 60-minute, 90-minute. Want to talk more about any area of your marketing? Happy to do so. Happy to chat with you guys. Just go to the website under how to work with me. And then there's a consultation section. You can sign up directly on the website, schedule a calendar meeting, and we're good to go. You can sit and chat. I will now open it up to questions. Any questions you guys have about any part of this, happy to answer them in the next few minutes. Yes, Maxime.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic. You really took a lot of it. Oh, okay. Can anyone hear me? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, they can hear me. Can you hear me, Moni?
I still can't hear you.
Oh. Yeah, I agree with you, Robin. Best webinar I've been to in a long time.
You may have to put it in the chat,
Oh
Maxine. I
no.
know.
Julie
I'm
and Nancy, can you hear me?
so
I'm not
sorry.
sure.
I
Okay.
can hear you.
Um,
Yeah, I can hear
Jody,
you.
can you? Yeah. Is it me? Is
I
anybody
think
else can
it's
hear
you,
anybody else?
Moni.
'Cause I
I
can't.
can hear.
Oh, you can hear? Okay, hold on. Then it may be me. Hold on. Yes, it is me. Hold on. Wait 1 second, guys. All right, can you guys try it now?
How about now? Can you
All
hear me
right,
now?
gotcha. Yeah, it was me.
Yay.
Wrong headphones.
Okay, thank you so much. I wanted to tell you this was awesome, and you took a
Oh,
lot of the angst out of this. And whatever's in the comment section, I totally agree. So helpful. My
oh,
question
thanks.
is this: I have a newsletter that I send out through my CRM, Constant Contact.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have a newsletter on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and it's so much work to try to put in two sets of content for
Yeah.
both. Are you
Yep.
suggesting that I'm putting the same information on both my LinkedIn newsletter and also the one that goes out through my CRM?
Okay. Question is, which platform or channel has the biggest audience?
LinkedIn has the biggest audience,
Okay.
but I don't have access to those people.
That's
It's
right.
just an audience, but I want to grow my CRM. And so I'm like, what should I do?
Right. Okay. So, and then for the content that you're creating for both of them, they're different now. They're different types of content or no?
I'd like it to be this right now. I try to shake it up a little bit, but it's
Okay.
too much work. I
It's too
have
much
so
work.
much anxiety around newsletters. That's why
Yes.
it's so helpful. I hate doing it,
Yes.
but I
Exactly.
know it's
So
necessary.
so common. All right, you're right. We do want to grow our own channels. So what we're going to have to do is, unfortunately, you have to give people a reason to subscribe to the Constant Contact one, right? If we want to move them off of LinkedIn. So what I would suggest is that there's an area in which in your LinkedIn newsletter, you're giving incentive to move them over. So this is where you can do your exclusive, probably have a piece of your LinkedIn one be exclusive, of which they can only get it if they sign up, and then they become part of your Constant Contact.
Got you.
Good.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right. Other questions? Anyone else?
Moni, did you mention that you're going to send the workbook to us by email after?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay.
So everyone's going to get the recording, the workbook, and the slides.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Fantastic. All right. Anybody else have questions?
Question, is there something different that you would say to be done if it's a paid newsletter versus a free newsletter?
Yeah, so exactly. So if you have a paid newsletter, then you want that content to be as high level as possible. And the incentive for signing up has to be a little bit higher, right? So there needs to be a higher level of exclusivity, and there needs to be like something. So how I think about a paid newsletter is like, if you have a product or service that you're charging for, a part of that needs to go in the paid subscription, right? Like it's something like that. So like for me, for example, this workshop right now would be part of my paid. So instead of having you guys pay for this, it would just be part of my like paid newsletter. You get free access, something like that. So yeah, for sure. So think about like, and you have to think about your audience too, of like, what are they willing to pay for, and align it with that. Like sometimes like what we think we would pay for and what someone else thinks they were going to pay for, not the same thing. So that's the biggest thing that I see with like paid newsletters is like people think that people want to pay for this and they don't want to pay for it. And then also like paid newsletters are a good way to then kind of get some like affiliate or sponsorship dollars too as well. So those two things go together. That's the biggest thing for paid. It's like then now it's bringing in you actually like affiliate money or some sponsor money. And then now we're talking, right? Awesome. Great question. All right, ladies, anything else? All right, you guys crushed it. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate the engagement. I will be sending out, give me some grace today. It's a little crazy day, but tomorrow morning, I hope to have everyone the link to the presentation, the recording, the slide deck, and the workbook. Okay.
Great.
Awesome
Thanks,
sauce.
Moni.
You're welcome,
Bye,
guys.
everyone. Have a good day.
Bye. See you guys.
Well.
Bye.
Bye.